Today on the Star Trek Critic Night Terrors, the plot, Deanna actually has more than 5 lines. The Enterprise finds a derelict ship adrift, and Picard decides, let's stay here until we are stuck too, like we always do. According to this, the Britannia has been missing for 29 days. Deanna says the third baseman is over there. Deanna says, I'm going with you on this trip, and they all give her this funny look. Check this out. This is the Britannia with an I. Now it's Brattain with an A, so -1 point. And -1 point for not beaming over in safety suits. Shout out to the extras, they did a great job at playing dead. I didn't see them move at all. Now they blame the first baseman for doing all this damage. Who did this? Who did this to you? Beverly really has her work cut out for her on this show, doesn't she? Deanna says she can feel his terror. Is that what they call it these days? Picard says the first baseman knows what happened over there. Didn't they just say the first baseman did everything? Do actors get paid the same rate if they speak telepathically? We will never know. Back on the Britannia, the ship doesn't work. They blame it on the second baseman. They act surprised that the ship doesn't work. They did get the memo that it's been adrift for 29 days, didn't they? Beverly says, Jean-Luc, all 34 of them killed each other, and look at this, it's because they had a female captain with really bad PMS. Picard says, Beverly, you can't say that on TV. That would be considered sexist. There must be another reason. -1 point for Captain Picard not already knowing what the last log entry was. He should have read them right away. -1 point for One Moon. -1 point for Troy Cleavage. And -1 point because Troy probably doesn't dream in her uniform. Deanna is in a nightgown. She changes clothes a lot in this show. According to the stardate, about a day and a half has passed, but in reality, 4 days have passed, so -1 point. 1 point lost for not realizing they're in a Tychon's rift by now. They have a crew of 1,000 who are paid to figure that one out. Geordi has a visor, but he says he still can't see. This guy is freaking out like the newbie little ensign that he is. Geordi says, don't worry about it, the dead people are just haunting you, that's all. 1 point lost for not getting this poor guy a private cubicle and a gown. He's been laying in the middle of sickbay for 4 days. No wonder he's going insane. 1 point lost for not bringing in one of their Vulcans to try a Vulcan mind meld. Keiko and O'Brien get into a fight. O'Brien says, you know the only reason why we have parts on this show? Keiko says, yes, it's because that little bratty kid Wesley quit and they hired us to take his place. That's the only reason we have parts on this show. O'Brien says, I got it, let's go to Deep Space Nine instead and screw all the Enterprise crew. O'Brien picked the worst person to sit next to in 10 Forward. His comments are like saying, why aren't you in your quarters having sex with Keiko? Now they talk about ghost stories. This is Picard maneuver number 1. Deanna has changed again. Deanna and Beverly say, people are acting strange. Ensign Rager says, I number 1. Ensign Rager isn't feeling well. Then Riker says, hey, isn't your mother in 10 Forward? Then her replacement sits down and Riker says, wait a second, weren't you that bratty kid that danced on your parents' graves? Riker says, Geordi, what's going on down there? Geordi says, it's the third baseman, sir. He screwed up the ship. According to the stardate, about 3 days have passed, but Captain Picard says 10 days have passed, so -1 point for a stardate mismatch. Subspace messages are incredibly fast, and it won't take 2 weeks no matter how far out they are, so -1 point. 2 days maybe, but not 2 weeks. I'm not falling for that. Data has concluded they are stuck, and a Tychon's rift is not a real thing. It's what they made up for Star Trek. 1 point lost here. Their photon torpedoes can produce a big enough explosion. They're just saying this to create more drama in the show. Picard and Riker tell their deep dark secrets to each other in the turbolift. Riker's thinking, every time I open the door, an extra walks behind me in the hallway. Picard is thinking, this is just like the Trashmasher scene in Star Wars. Worf is thinking, where's my cell phone camera when I need it? Only a few minutes have passed since that meeting they just had. 1 point is lost because they didn't mention that deflector dish idea at all in there. Personally, I think Picard should have put Data in command right then and there, but he didn't. Riker is wondering, why does Deanna have a bigger bed than me? And shout out to Gates McFadden for being in this scene. I wouldn't be able to do it. They'd say, you're going to be in there, and I'd say, hell no. So shout out to Gates McFadden. Shout out again to Dr. Crusher for discovering what was causing all the problems. They aren't dreaming. Now she talks about the third baseman and the left fielder. 10 days have passed and they still haven't changed the poor guy's clothes. Check this out. They go from showing Deanna Troi to Guinan. Isn't that weird? And this guy's job description is to annoy the living shit out of everybody else. 1 point is lost because this show is written like the people here in 10 Forward have been in there the entire 10 days. Worf says I number 2. The deflector dish idea didn't work, and 1 point lost for not even trying the photons. In reality, Worf probably isn't the only one on the crew that tried this during these 10 days. Alexandrin is Klingon for his son, Alexander. And Counselor Troy has probably been really busy during these past 10 days trying to solve these types of problems. No wonder she's having nightmares. Deanna says, I have a solution. Come over to my place and read me Klingon love poetry, and we'll have passionate Klingon Betazoid sex that these humans just couldn't possibly imagine. And Worf says, okay, that sounds good. Now, according to the Stardate, about 4 days have passed, and they still haven't given this poor guy a change of clothes. What a crappy sickbay. Deanna solves the problem. It's aliens sending them the message. But how did she realize they were aliens? We will never know. When you see REM, do you think sleep or the band? They believe the aliens trying to communicate telepathically is what's causing all of them to lose sleep. Marina Sirtis and Gates McFadden are both thinking, this show sucks. The directors made us both look like we just climbed out of a dumpster. Data creates a list of 10,000 compounds they can use. This is going to take a while. It would have been quicker if they started with the easy one first. Hydrogen detonates with everything. I'm surprised the other ship doesn't have any. Beverly is so excited because she can make Deanna go unconscious. Data tells everybody to go to a shelter area, but really they should stay in their room so they don't start beating the living shit out of each other. Oh look, they've been in 10 forward for 11 days now. Guinan says, check this out, I have a big gold machine gun, and then I'm gonna go on daytime TV and tell everybody they need to turn in their machine guns. They should have waited for her to be in REM sleep a little bit longer before releasing the hydrogen. Hydrogen will not travel in a straight line in the vacuum of space, so -1 point. How did they even think of that? Deanna meets God. Beverly's thinking, oh no, I killed her. It is successful because it is Star Trek. That's a really cheap explosion. There goes the alien ship that looks like it's right off of Close Encounters, but what happened to the Britannia? Data orders Captain Picard to bed, and once Picard is off the bridge, Data says, ha! I'm in charge now. I am going to take over the galaxy. And Data takes off to destroy the planets. Deborah Taylor played Captain Zahava. She was also on Cop Rock and Murphy Brown. This is the second of 4 episodes with Lanai Chapman. You can see her on Rat Race with Whoopi Goldberg. Brian Tochi was on a lot of stuff, including Wonder Woman, Space Academy, and Ninja Turtles. Craig Hurley was on Highway to Heaven and Life Goes On. Sean Duke was on Flash Forward, Get a Life, and Sideways. John Vickery didn't say much, but he'll be back on Deep Space Nine, Enterprise, and Babylon 5. Night Terrors, which isn't really that popular because Deanna and Beverly were in horrible makeup, gets a score of 83. Yes! Thanks for viewing. Be sure to leave comments below, click that like button, the share button, the subscribe button, and I'll see you again next week.